Shadow Hearts is set in the aftermath of Kudelka, unfolding in the final months of 1913, along with the remote stretch of Trans-Siberian Railway in Manchuria. The Japanese military has taken custody of a young woman named Alice Elliott, whose father, a priest from Rouen, France, met a gruesome and untimely demise under mysterious and violent circumstances. As tensions rise aboard the train, an enigmatic English aristocrat, Roger Bacon, makes a bold attempt to seize Alice from her armed escorts. Just as the situation escalates, the protagonist Yuri suddenly intervenes, rescuing Alice under the cryptic guidance of an otherworldly voice, whispering directives deep within his consciousness. Yuri and Alice narrowly avoid capture by Roger Bacon and the relentless pursuit of the Japanese army, forcing them into a desperate flight across the war-torn landscapes of China. As they fight for survival, their journey leads them to forge unlikely alliances, including the wise and skilled Taoist mystic Li Zhuzhen and the cunning British spy Margaret Gertrude Zell. However, their path is fraught with danger as they become entangled in the chaotic struggle for control over China and over Alice herself. Two major forces stand in their way: the Imperial Japanese Army, which seeks to expand its dominion over Asia by establishing a military stronghold in China, viewing Alice as a key to their ambitions; the sinister warlock Dewey, who harbors dark designs of his own. He intends to exploit Alice for a long-forbidden ritual, one that will grant him the power to overthrow Japan and seize control of the continent. As their perilous journey continues, Zhuzhen reveals a tragic piece of Yuri's past. 15 years earlier, Yuri's father, Ben Yuga, once a member of the Japanese Army's Special Elite Forces, clashed with Dewey in a fateful confrontation. Though Ben succeeded in thwarting the warlock's schemes, the battle cost him his life, a sacrifice that now weighs heavily on Yuri's destiny. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Yoshiko Kawashima and her loyal subordinate Kato operate in the shadows, initially aiding Yuri's group, only to further the Japanese Army's agenda. Yet, as Kawashima witnesses their struggles firsthand, her hardened resolve begins to waver, and she finds herself reluctantly sympathizing with their cause, an unexpected shift that could alter the course of their fight. With a crucial tactical support from their uneasy allies in the Japanese military, Yuri and his companions launch a daring assault on Dewey's heavily fortified stronghold in Guihai Tower. As the battle reaches a climax, the villainous warlock unveils his ultimate scheme, the forbidden reverse demon gate invocation ritual. Designed to call forth the apocalyptic seraphic radiance, this divine entity possesses cataclysmic power capable of annihilating Japan entirely. Though the group succeeds in defeating Dewey in combat, their victory proves hollow when Roger Bacon makes a last-minute intervention. The cunning Englishman sabotages their efforts to disrupt the ritual, allowing the summoning to complete despite their desperate attempts to stop it. Faced with imminent catastrophe, Yuri makes the fateful decision to attempt fusion with a newly manifested seraphic radiance, a reckless gambit to control its overwhelming power. The attempt backfires spectacularly, as Yuri is instead consumed and overwhelmed by the divine entity. Now unrestrained and running berserk, the seraphic radiance unleashes its full destructive might upon Shanghai. The city is ravaged by devastating waves of pure energy, reducing entire districts to ruins in moments. In the chaotic aftermath, Bacon seizes the opportunity to escape to Europe, while the explosion of power scatters Yuri's companions across the ravaged landscape, separating the group at their most vulnerable moment. 6 months after the cataclysmic events in Shanghai, the scattered members of the group have regrouped in Europe, determined to track down Yuri before his fragmented soul is lost forever. To sustain themselves while searching, Alice and Zhuzhen take on work traveling as exorcists, using their spiritual expertise to combat supernatural threats across the continent. During one such investigation, they cross paths with Keith Valentine, an enigmatic aristocrat and the last descendant of an ancient, powerful vampire bloodline. Though initially wary of the immortal nobleman, they soon discover Yuri, now a hollow shell of his former self, has wandered into Keith's castle, drawn there by forces even he cannot comprehend. Stripped of his soul, and after his failed fusion with the seraphic radiance, Yuri exists in a state of tormented limbo, his mind fractured by the ordeal. Determined to save him, Alice ventures into a metaphysical graveyard of Yuri's subconscious, where she witnesses firsthand the depths of his despair. The psychological scars of his battle with the seraphic radiance have left him broken, consumed by guilt over his failure to control its power, and haunted by his identity as a harmonixer. His loathing has grown so severe that his own psyche now urges him towards self-destruction. In a desperate act of love and sacrifice, Alice offers herself to the four masks, the manifestations of Yuri's inner turmoil in exchange for the restoration of his soul. Through her unwavering resolve, she helps Yuri confront and overcome his deepest fears, allowing him to finally accept his hybrid nature. Reborn with his soul reclaimed, Yuri awakens with a renewed purpose. Meanwhile, Keith Valentine, having slumbered through centuries of ennui, finds himself intrigued by the group's mission and the prospect of excitement in their company. With little left to occupy his immortal existence, he decides to join their cause, if only to stave off the crushing boredom of eternal life. The group reunites with Margaret, who has been conducting her own covert investigation into Roger Bacon's mysterious background. Through her network of contacts and careful research, she's uncovered valuable information that could help them finally locate their elusive enemy. Their journey leads them to England, where they encounter Hallie Brankett, a now-grown son of Kudelka. To their shock, they learn that Kudelka has been forcibly confined into a mental institution under Bacon's orders, her warnings about supernatural threats dismissed as madness. Despite mounting a daring rescue operation to free Kudelka from her unjust imprisonment, their efforts are thwarted when the cunning Kudelka deliberately surrenders herself to protect the group from Bacon's forces. In a poignant farewell, she finally reveals the truth about her connection to Yuri. She has been the mysterious, guiding voice in his mind all along. With time running short, she urgently directs Yuri to seek out the ancient Nemeton monastery hidden in the wilds of Wales, hinting that the answers about his destiny await there. Meanwhile, Alice finds herself deeply affected by Kudelka's cryptic final words. Following a subtle clue buried in Kudelka's parting message, Alice begins digging deeper into Bacon's shadowy history. Her persistent investigation yields a startling revelation. The man they've known as Roger Bacon is in fact an imposter. His true identity is none other than Cardinal Albert Simon, a figure of significant religious authority with his own dark agenda. This discovery raises terrifying new questions about how deep Simon's deception runs and what his ultimate goals might be. Upon arriving at the ancient Nemeton monastery, the group finally encounters the genuine Roger Bacon, a sage-like figure who has watched events unfold from the shadows. With grave solemnity, he unveils the disturbing truth about Albert Simon's past. Simon was once Bacon's most gifted protege, a brilliant mind who began questioning the fundamental structures of medieval European society. His radical philosophies and unorthodox beliefs eventually led him to condemnation by the Vatican, resulting in his imprisonment and branding as a dangerous heretic. Bacon reveals Simon's apocalyptic ambition to summon an entity known as God, though in truth, this is no divine being, but rather an incomprehensible extraterrestrial force originating from a distant galaxy. Having grown utterly disillusioned with humanity's corruption, Simon seeks to annihilate the current world entirely, clearing the way for what he views as a necessary rebirth of civilization. The key to this cataclysmic plan lies beneath the very feet, the Niamito float, an ancient artifact buried in the ruins below Nemeton Monastery. These ruins are remnants of a long-lost civilization that once possessed knowledge far beyond modern understanding. Simon initially targeted Alice Elliott for this ritual due to her unique spiritual qualities, but when she escaped his grasp, he instead turned to Kudelka, a substitute component in his grand design. The float, when activated, would emit a powerful dimensional beacon capable of drawing the so-called quote-unquote God entity directly to Earth. Bacon warns that Simon's madness has reached its final stage. Having assembled all necessary components, he now stands ready to execute his plan for global annihilation under the twisted guise of divine judgment. With no time to spare, Roger Bacon utilizes his ancient mystical knowledge to instantly transport his entire group directly to the heart of the floating Neometo structure. Fighting through waves of otherworldly defenses and Simon's remaining loyalists, the team ascends through the bizarre, alien architecture of the float. After an arduous climb filled with numerous challenges, they finally confront Simon at the very apex of the structure, where he stands ready to complete his apocalyptic ritual. A climactic battle ensues, with Simon wielding terrifying cosmic powers drawn from his years of forbidden research. Though he fights with conviction as a man who believes himself to be the world's savior rather than its destroyer, the combined might of Yuri and his companions ultimately prevails. Mortally wounded and his plans crumbling, a strangely serene Simon acknowledges Yuri's superior strength and the validity of his convictions. With his dying breath, Simon gathers the remnants of his formidable power, not for a final attack, but to open a dimensional gateway, sending Yuri's group hurtling through space to intercept the approaching god entity before it can reach Earth's atmosphere. The team finds themselves floating in the void of space, face to face with the incomprehensible cosmic horror that threatens all existence. Through sheer determination, teamwork, and unique abilities each member has cultivated throughout the journey, they manage to destroy the alien god just as it prepares to unleash its world-ending power. As the monstrous entity dissolves into harmless cosmic energy, the group miraculously return to Earth, battered but victorious. The planet is saved from annihilation, and Simon's twisted vision of rebirth through destruction is now finally laid to rest. In the aftermath, the survivors are left to ponder the cost of their victory and what new challenges may await them in this preserved world. Shadow Hearts features two distinct endings that dramatically alter the story's conclusion, a quote-unquote good ending and a quote-unquote bad ending. The divergence stems from Alice's fate after she willingly offers her soul to the Four Mass in exchange for Yuri's salvation. Before the group departs for the Neometo float, the god of death Atman manifests in Alice's dreams to claim her soul, a consequence of her selfless bargain. To unlock the good ending, players must complete a specific side quest before this pivotal moment. If successful, Yuri defies fate itself, breaking into Alice's dreamscape to confront Atman alongside her. Together, they overcome the deity in a fierce battle, disrupting the ritual and severing Atman's claim on her soul. However, if the side quest remains incomplete, Alice is doomed to face Atman alone, in a hopeless battle she cannot win. As the deity claims her soul, she begins to weaken progressively. During the group's ascent of the float, her life force begins fading with each step closer to the final confrontation. The true distinction between the two endings is revealed only after the credits roll in a poignant postscript scene. In both versions, Yuri and Alice are seen resting on a train bound for her hometown in Zurich. In the good ending, Alice eventually stirs from her slumber, her spirit unbroken, and awakens to a renowned sense of hope. She and Yuri share a quiet but profound moment, ready to face the future together. In the bad ending, Alice never opens her eyes. Her soul, irrevocably claimed by Atman, has departed, leaving Yuri alone with his grief. Heartbroken but resolute, he vows to live on in her memory, honoring her sacrifice through his continued existence. These endings underscore the game's central themes of love, sacrifice, and the struggle against destiny, leaving players with an emotionally charged conclusion that lingers long after the screen fades to black. Thank you so much, dear viewer, for listening. Subscribe, share, and comment, telling me what your favorite scene is in Shadow Hearts and what you would like to see in the next video. Goodbye.